最大霧の従順洋艦タカを出撃覚悟はいいかしら
Hey folks, this is Picohan from the North American server, and this is the Tier 10 American Heavy Cruiser, the Des Moines. The map is Domination on Haven, and shoutouts to Nordite in the Gearing and Mofton in the Conqueror. So, the Des Moines is one of the oldest ships in the game, and there was a time when it was considered not that good. But with the advent of radar and some other buffs, it's a pretty strong ship today, and it sees reasonable play in both random and competitive gameplay. Now, the Des Moines does have a reputation for being a very static and campy kind of boat, and while this may not be the only way to play it, it is the way most people do it, and the way I would prefer to as well. This is pretty much the same case for all of the other American heavy cruisers with the same gun arrangement, like the Indianapolis or the Baltimore. The ABX gun arrangement, 2 super firing turrets in the front and 1 other turret in the back, means that you can hug an island to protect your side and still keep 2/3 of your DPM live. Unlike some of those lesser heavy cruisers though, the Des Moines actually has incredible DPM. Some people are like, oh, why don't high-tier American cruisers have torpedoes? Well, it's because you don't need it. These guns are all you need, and the torpedoes are just one other thing you don't have to worry about. So now I'm nearing my first campsite, and I'm gonna slow down to take stock of what's ahead. The problem with the Des Moines is that a lot of the high-tier maps don't really have good places to camp. And this map is kind of one of them, but definitely not the worst offender. This island I'm at, you'll see, since it runs up and down on the map, it does have very good protection for my left side, but the narrowness of this island means that if the enemy pushes hard on this flank and I need to reverse around the top, it's very easy for me to reverse into a crossfire. The type of islands you really like are going to be large, round, with moderately steep sides. The steepness of the terrain is important because that's going to determine whether you can keep firing over an island while still remaining undetected. In this game, shortly after I arrived at this spot, I triggered the radar, not necessarily in response to anything, but just to see what was out there. We didn't see anything initially, but we did pick up the Z-52 at the end of the work time, so we did get some info out of it, and a little bit of damage as well. Even before that, though, when I was shooting the Alsace through the islands, I got lit, even though it didn't look like he had line of sight, and that's when I started backing up. So here you can see this whole island steepness thing at play. The Z is still lighting me, so I'm trying to get an angle where I can shoot the Alsace, but he can't shoot at me. But the little bit of island sticking out here is just a little bit too tall for me to lob my shells over. So there's 2 things you can do here. you can try to back up such that your shells have more distance to clear the top of the island, or you can pull forward and get more towards the edge of that outcropping. Initially, I pulled back because I felt it was safer, but the Alsace turned around, so I pulled out as well. But I tried to pull out only enough to engage the Alsace and not let anyone else over on my left engage me. The Alsace is very low, and we should really try to focus him, but I see a very juicy target over here in this Mogami. This is very juicy because not only is he broadside, but he's got an island behind him such that he can't turn out easily. So we switch to AP, and we don't aim that well in the beginning, but the last salvo gets 2 citadels and we take him out. And this is really one of the amazing things about the Des Moines. The reload is so fast that you can very easily take advantage of opportunities like that. I didn't even need to use the buffed expert loader from John Doe, since I reloaded between salvos, and we still took out half of that Mogami's health in like 20 seconds. So now we're switching back to the Alsace that we didn't manage to kill earlier, and you can see we're actually getting the 3rd turret in play a little bit here. The DPM from just the front 2 guns is already pretty good, but if you can get the 3rd turret in action, it's really amazing. The Alsace, though, is getting beyond our firing range, even with the range mod, so we're going to look at the next best target, which is this Conqueror. Once again, as soon as I'm able to have shots on the Conqueror, I start reversing again to try to break his line of sight. You'll also notice I used AP there for a couple salvos. Generally, HE is sometimes not that useful against battleships because they can heal, but this is especially true for a Conqueror which has super heal. AP damage is generally less repairable. Now, I'm making a move here because 2 things are happening. A, the Conqueror is going behind the island. B, the cap is ticking. You can see on the minimap that my radar covered the entire cap before I hit it, so I was pretty confident I could at least see what was in there. Turns out it's the Z52 from before, and luckily he is low health enough that we are able to quickly finish him off. We also see the Harakaze coming in from the other side, but he is dodging a bit better than the Z. I'm anticipating torps from one or both of these guys, so I want to slow down behind this small island to my left. Unfortunately, it's also preventing me from shooting at the Harakaze, and he drops off as my radar goes down. I'm also going to stop firing for a bit here because I don't really have a way to protect myself from that Conqueror, but he is outside my base detection range. The Conqueror does set us on fire, which lights us up again because of fire debuff, but by this point he's even further away such that we drop off again. Since the torps have passed, I want to pull up to this next island and repeat what I was doing further north, but as we transit there, The Harakaze gets spotted again, so I'm going to try to shoot at him, of course. While I'm doing that and landing okay shots, I mess up here and run into this island. This is almost not terrible because there is a smoke screen blocking line of sight to the Bismarck, but then we're being spotted by planes that we can't see, so I really do want to get out of here as fast as I can. He almost deletes us there, but luckily he misses, and I do run the propulsion mod on the Des Moines, although that doesn't help with backing up, it only helps going forward. Once I'm free of the island, I'm going to try to take a couple more pot shots at what I can. You'll see that this smoke does indeed block line of sight when the planes are gone. I tried shooting some AP at that Hipper, but it seems like he was too far away for the AP to really have all that much effect, even though he was broadside. The Des Moines does have great DPM, but the shells are a bit slow, and even though the AP is super heavy, it won't reliably citadel at long range. Now I want to shoot at the Conqueror while trying to keep myself hidden, and this is a little bit sloppy, but it's also much more difficult to do this corner thing when your target is running away from you rather than toward you. In much the same way, it's easier to kite than to push. I do get spotted, and the Conqueror does put 2 fires on us, so I have to DCP and pull back. However, the Conqueror gets far enough away such that my shells start clearing the island. However, the Worcester, which has even higher shell arcs than the Des Moines, can still shoot at me, so I have to keep backing up. Nord is able to torp the Conqueror, so we are able to drop off. And now what I want to do is try to engage the Worcester at a closer range. Worcester versus Des Moines at close range should be pretty favorable for the Des Moines. Yet, somehow the Worcester still wants to take this engagement. I think he was fixated on trying to kill Nord, who's in the C cap. That would explain why he tried to radar as well. Because of this, he's giving us a great broadside. I do use the radar to keep him spotted, but the Worcester decides to angle by running aground, and I screw up by getting too close to this island and almost running aground myself. I also hesitated a bit on the ammo choice. I tried HE, but then I switched back to AP, not knowing if I could get a citadel from this angle, or even if I could overmatch his stern. Either way, I didn't turn in to finish him off because I felt like I needed to get behind this island such that the Reds in the north would not have my broadside. That being said, I do find a location where for a short time I can farm some free damage, and boy do we need it, because if you look at the score, our team has been trying to throw this game for the past couple minutes here. In fact, we are briefly a 3v6 here, but the gearing needed to show himself to kill our Baltimore, so myself and Nord are able to finish him off. Ultimately, I do decide to turn in because without the gearing there, I am able to keep myself hidden from the guys in the north, and we really do need to make a push anyway. We are barely still in the lead on points, but they're capping our only 2 caps, so this is pretty bad. I'm still trying AP on the angled Worcester, which is not working that well, but between me and the Amagi, we're finally able to finish him, even though this was a bit sloppy. Now I'm running toward this island because I want to drop off and see if I can cap, but especially with Nord's death, we all decide that there's basically no way to win this on points. We have to kill them, and so I'm basically going for a YOLO rush here. Very fortunately, Nord is able to kill the Bismarck, which is the biggest threat to me, and I'm fairly confident I can gun down these other 3 if I can see them. I'm shooting AP here because I'm hoping for a quick kill, but both of these cruisers seem to notice that, and they start angling. It actually looks like they're going to get away, but for some reason the Hipper stops in front of me, and I think that's because he didn't want to show a broadside. But even though I can't Citadel him from this angle, the Amagi can, and he is deleted. The Harakaze tried to smoke the now dead Hipper and also gets deleted in the process. And even then, at this point, I still thought we had lost, because all the St. Louis needed to do was hide, and I think he could have won due to overwhelming cap advantage. But for some reason, he decides to come out, and as soon as I see him, I don't even bother trying to get the cap anymore, because I thought that the only way we would win would be to kill this guy. And a mild torpedo beat here. We switch to HE, and we finish off the St. Louis for a Kraken. And looking at the results here, 157k with 5 kills is pretty solid for this ship. We got a variety of ribbons, a couple fires, a couple citadels, a couple defenses. Those are all pretty good stuff, but the impressive thing here is that when Nord killed that Bismarck, he also got a Kraken. And so between this division, we had 10 kills and 2 Krakens. Looking at the detailed results, you'll see we shot a pretty good blend of AP and HE, though AP ultimately did more damage and also more damage per shot. That's pretty typical for the Des Moines, especially at close range. If you can get those broadsides, you can punish them hard, even if they're not cruiser sides that you can Citadel. You can still do a ton of damage to broadside battleships, etc. And I think that's it for this replay. I hope y'all have a nice day.